Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene just gave Republicans, members of her own party, a dire warning. They will lose the midterms if they don't help Americans who are struggling financially in this country. So here's what she told Semafor in an interview, quote, "I can't see into the future, but I see Republicans losing the House if Americans are continuing to go paycheck to paycheck." And I think that she's onto something here, because remember, one of the top reasons why President Donald Trump won the popular vote is because he really did focus on the cost of living and how he was allegedly gonna do something to alleviate that financial burden on Americans. But so far, that has not been the case. Further, she says, they'll definitely be going into the midterms looking through the lens of their bank account. Because it's the economy, stupid. She's right, she's totally right about that. And a common complaint that I hear from people from across the political aisle is the fact that they're still very much concerned about the economic situation on the ground here in the US. Sure, you can point to the stock market, you can point to the GDP, but most normal people are not using those metrics to determine whether the economy is doing well. They're looking at their, checkbook, they're seeing how much money they have to be able to afford just like the bare necessities, housing, food, you get the picture. She also hit Speaker Mike Johnson once again for attempting to kill the healthcare subsidies without having a backup plan, a fallback strategy. She says that healthcare should be the #1 thing that we're working on. And I think that is going to be one of the top issues thrown in a 2026 midterm. I think that's the one area where she might not be right. I mean, we'll wait and see. But I think healthcare was still an important topic for Democrats to focus on in the last election, and they didn't. Healthcare was not at all a policy that was focused on by Kamala Harris or by Joe Biden before he dropped out of the race. Mike Johnson is at the press conferences every morning saying that we've got pages and pages, or we've got a Republican plan for healthcare. Yet I haven't seen one single page of the so-called Republican plan. I haven't heard one single GOP conference call on this issue. It's like, where is it? This Republican Party is failing. Now, she's been critiquing her own party on a regular basis, and I love to see it. In fact, I think it's a good thing when this happens. It actually makes your party stronger, and Democrats should be a little more open-minded to constructive feedback. And we've covered much of the critiques that Marjorie Taylor Greene has had, but according to Semafor, Trump advisors don't believe she poses a major threat to the administration's agenda. For one, they say almost every other Republican lawmaker is in lockstep with whatever they want to do. And for another, they doubt that Greene would be able to mount a serious campaign for higher office because of her long history of controversial statements, which is a rich thing to think as someone who's in the Trump administration or Trump himself. I mean, Trump has, who would Trump be if it weren't for his long history of controversial statements?
Yeah, there's a couple things here. First, I love how clueless mainstream media is, because they have no idea what's happening in MAGA. So they're like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MAGA will disown her for controversial comments. Have you ever met a single person who's MAGA? What a preposterous thing to say. I mean, first of all, Anna's right. Did you miss Trump the last decade? And you think controversial comments will eliminate you from seeking higher office as a Republican? I don't understand them. How could they be this blind? This one has nothing to do with like corruption or anything like that. They just don't know how to do reporting. They don't know they just go to their cocktail circuit and they're like, okay, and remember the first thing that Anna just told you. Well, they say every other Republican politician is following the orders given to them by the establishment. So Marjorie Taylor Greene won't be a problem. Guys, the other Republican politicians don't represent their voters at all. You're not paying attention. MAGA hates those guys. They like the principles that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. The issue isn't whether Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to somehow outvote all the other Republicans or 90%, 95% of the party. The issue is who represents the base, because the base is going to vote people out or in depending on how they act, right? And so that goes, now we go back to the main issue that you brought up, Anna. These guys are so confused. They're like, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene not listening to Mike Johnson and Donald Trump? They're the Republican leaders.
Because she's listening to her constituents who matter more.
And that flummoxes them. They can't understand it.
I know, it's crazy.
They're like, wait, So you care about principles and what MAGA originally said. But wait a minute, we always play this game. You say a bunch of nice things, Democrats do, and MAGA, Republican politicians do for MAGA during election season, and those are two different things, but you're appealing to your base or whatever, and then once you win though, you never serve them. You just turn right back around and jack up drug prices, lower wages, start wars, etc. So why isn't she going along? They're so unused to a principled politician that they're utterly confused by it.
I never thought in a million years it would be someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene to show that she's actually principled when it comes to bread and butter issues, because she, much like Trump, she also ran her campaigns focusing on those issues. I just never believed her because she was knee deep in endless, divisive culture war stuff. Yeah. But she has pivoted her attention onto the substantive issues that matter. Now, she might have some policy proposals or solutions that I personally don't like or don't see as solutions, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. At least she wants to have that conversation. And she's essentially pushing back on her own party in regard to healthcare. They want to repeal the Affordable Care Act. They want to weaken the Affordable Care Act. Okay, but what's your plan to help Americans once their premiums double? And that's really the heart of what she's arguing here. Now, she also focuses on the really dire financial situation that most Americans are in at the moment. She stated that Republicans will lose power if they can't help Americans out when they're struggling. She focuses on things like credit card debt, for instance. So according to the Federal Reserve data from Q2, Americans collectively hold, get a load of this, $1.21 trillion in credit card debt.
So the other day I got a new mattress. My old mattress sucked. It had all these grooves, you'd fall into them, you couldn't get out. It was a disaster. So I got a Lisa mattress, love it. Finally some peace and rest. So I did their cute little mattress quiz. Even their quizzes are cute. Anyways, it turns out my favorite is a Legend Chill Hybrid. I'm not saying that that's an accurate description of my personality as well. I'm just saying. So I got it, I tried it. There we go, love it. Now getting some peace and rest. You guys gotta check it out. Oh, plus they do really good things in the world. They actually have given away thousands of mattresses to people in need, and they help to clean our oceans. What else do you want? So this is the kind of win-win we love at TYT. Check them out. Go to lisa.com for 20% off, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code TYT. That's exclusive to our viewers. That's LEESA.com. Promo code TYT for 20% off, plus an extra $50 off. Support our show and let them know that we sent you after checkout. Lisa.com, promo code TYT.
And that figure continues to climb. Now, look, I'm sure that there are some on the right, maybe even some on, in the Democratic Party, I wouldn't even say some on the left, but who argue that like, oh, people are being frivolous with their spending. No, a lot of people, due to inflation, have been charging things on credit cards, things that they need, groceries, for instance. But there's more. A survey from Wallet Hub found that 43% of respondents say they're still paying off credit card debt from last fall. 33% of people predict they will have more credit card debt by the end of 2025. And nearly 2 in 5 Americans say they can't handle more credit card debt. And 1 in 5 say they are very stressed about their debt. I wish our federal government were more stressed about our federal debt, but they're not. They keep spending on wars and other nonsense. And when it comes to savings, also dire situation for a lot of Americans. Goldman Sachs released a report recently finding that 40% of Americans, working Americans, are now living paycheck to paycheck. If current trends continue, Goldman Sachs estimates that 55% of Americans will be living paycheck to paycheck by 2033, and another 40% of Americans state that they are not making meaningful progress on saving for retirement. And that's the other bomb here, right? I mean, think about how many people are living paycheck to paycheck and are unable to put any money aside for retirement. And I'm sorry, Social Security is not enough for people to live on. It was meant to supplement the retirement savings of Americans. And the problem is most Americans don't have retirement savings because they don't have the disposable, the income basically to put that money aside.
Yeah, so the core of the issue is, who do you represent? The reason why Democrats say all these beautiful progressive policies and never actually pass any of them, and the reason why the Republicans promise MAGA a bunch of culture war stuff, and sometimes they do some of the culture war stuff, but never the economic stuff. Oh, we're gonna stick up for the average guy, right? But do they? No. Why? Because who do they report to? Both sides report to the donors. So the donors love the culture wars because it divides us and gets us fighting each other instead of looking up. And what the donors want is to pay you as little as possible and to extract as much wealth from you as they can through the government and funneled back to them. That's why they give the politicians collectively billions of dollars. They're not doing it for their health. They're not doing it for charity. They're doing it so they could take your money and put it into their pocket. So that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene being principled is not necessarily a great thing for progressives like me, because there's still a bunch of things we disagree on, immigration, some of the culture war issues, etc. But it is great in that I would much rather have someone that I disagree with that is principled and honest, because I'd rather disagree with the actual representative of the 14th District of Georgia, representing those real American voters, even if I disagree with the majority of those voters, than having a representative represent ExxonMobil, Lockheed Martin, Pfizer, Israel, Qatar, whoever else.
You want real people, not empty suits that are bought by corporate interests.
Exactly.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I think with what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying recently, I have more agreements with her on some economic issues than I previously knew or thought.
No, yeah, I think she changed, to be honest.
No, I think that she, look guys, people do evolve and people mature, and if they're open-minded enough, they will see the light on issues that they had a completely different take on. But putting that aside for a second, even with someone like Thomas Massie, I have way more economic disagreements with Thomas Massie than I do with Marjorie Taylor Greene at this point. Nonetheless, I totally support him in this fight against the efforts to oust him because he's not willing to spend unlimited amounts of money on foreign wars.
Yeah.
He's a person, he's principled, and he can't be bought. And I appreciate that. That's what we need more of in the country.
But I don't want you to miss the most important underlying phenomena that's happening that's affecting Marjorie Taylor Greene, in her case more than Massie. Massie's always been principled. He's kind of an outlier, bless his heart for that. Same with Bernie Sanders. He didn't need any extra incentives. He was always principled, right? So for Marjorie Taylor Greene, a different phenomenon is happening. Same thing for Ro Khanna and some others on the left, which is their grassroots fundraising is so significant that they then become responsive to their donors, but their donors have now switched to the average American, as opposed to giant corporate donors or foreign governments. So then somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene goes and asks, hey, you guys, you're giving me all this money, $5 at a time, 25 bucks at a time. So what is it that you want? And they go, well, I want higher wages and I want lower drug prices. It's the most obvious thing in the world. What else would I want, right? And she's like, are you sure you don't want more land acquisition for Israel? They're like, what are you talking about? Are you sure that you don't want higher drug prices? They're like, are you insane? Of course we want lower drug prices. So when she goes and talks to the new boss, which is the American people, but right-wing American people, they say to her things that are obvious. And so she then comes back and goes, well, I talked to them, and it looks like they want lower drug prices. So I'm gonna fight for that. So that's true in the case of the healthcare premiums and the shutdown and her disagreement with the Republicans on that. It's also true in the bill that she just joined that we're crowdsourcing a revolution on here at TYT. We reached out to her and she said, oh, Ro Khanna's bill taking Trump's executive order to make the same drug prices for us as all the other developed nations? She's like, where's the question? Yes, I'm co-sponsoring, because she's being more responsive to our actual constituents and citizens.
Exactly.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.